Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Harwood Museum of Art. My name is Gwendolyn Fernandez. I'm the Curator of Education and Public Programs, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's program, The Life and Work of Eva Mirabal. Please come in, have a seat. Tonight we will have the pleasure and honor of welcoming in conversation MaLin Wilson-Powell, who is the curator of our current exhibition, Pursuit of Happiness, GI Bill in Taos, and Jonathan Warmday Cumming, an accomplished artist and also son of Eva Mirabal. Our program tonight is scheduled to go around an hour. So there will be the conversation between MaLin and Jonathan, and then afterwards we'll have the galleries open. You're welcome to look around the exhibition, and MaLin and Jonathan will be happy to take questions one-on-one after that. If you do need a restroom tonight, it's right out the doors of the auditorium to your left. And also tonight we are really honored to have works from Jonathan's personal collection on view. So we have pieces by Eva Mirabal that you will not get an opportunity to see in many other times. So I also encourage you after the program to please come up and take a look at some of these pieces. So before we jump into the program, I do want to plug two more upcoming programs. On Sunday, March 22nd, we will celebrate the birthday of Agnes Martin with a special day in her honor, including a special workshop called Slow Art in the gallery here. Come on in, please. We'll be showing a film, and we will have birthday cake to celebrate with. So that will be happening all day, Sunday, March 22nd. We are always free to Taos County residents on Sundays. And then on Thursday, March 26th at 6 p.m., we will host a panel back here in this auditorium related to our current exhibition, Same Place at the Same Time, Pueblo Foodways. We will have the guest curator for that show, Tiana Suazo, as well as Johnny Ortiz Concha, in conversation with our associate curator, Kate Miller. That'll be a really great program about Pueblo food sovereignty, traditions, and cultures. As we start the program tonight, we will be learning a lot about an incredible woman, and I have really been honored to sit down with both MaLin and Jonathan and hear a little snippet of some of the stories and insights that you're going to get tonight. And it's really deepened my appreciation for Eva Mirabal and her work. And she is a significant part of this exhibition today. And we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to acknowledge the fact that this museum stands on the Pueblo lands. So we acknowledge that we are on the historic homeland of the Red Willow people within the original territory of Taos Pueblo. And we recognize that it is respectful to recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. This acknowledgement, we hope, will oblige as a reminder of our ongoing efforts here at the Harwood and as part of the larger Taos community to respectfully recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land and water we benefit from in this great valley today. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the folks who made tonight's program and this exhibition possible. So tonight's program is brought to you in part by New Mexico Arts, which is a division of the Department of Cultural Affairs, and the National Endowment for the Arts. And the exhibition Pursuit of Happiness, GI Bill in Taos is made possible by the generous support of the Mandolin Reebok Legacy Endowment, 203 Fine Art, Leslie and William Ramsey, Tracy Chavez McAdams and Scott McAdams, Sherry Livney and Steve Hanks, Kay and Tom Tynan, Dora and Carl Dillistone, Stephen Rudnick, and those who made gifts in honor of Lois Rudnick, who is the co-author of the book with Jonathan, Wendy Shannon and Rick Higgins, in memory of Robert and Ellis, Happy Price, Romy, and Carl Colonius. We are so deeply grateful for their support of the Harwood and specifically of this exhibition. So without further ado, I want to introduce MaLin and Jonathan. So MaLin Wilson-Powell is an independent writer and curator, active in the art world since 1972. Her orientation has always been to encourage engagement with the arts audiences as a public intellectual. She has held positions as curator at the Museum of Fine Arts in Santa Fe, as assistant to photo historian and MacArthur Fellow of Beaumont Newhall. She served as the director of the Johnson Gallery, the contemporary branch of the University Art Museum, University of New Mexico, and as the first curator of exhibitions and curator of art after 1945 at the McNay Art Museum in San Antonio. She has curated over 25 exhibitions with publications, 3 of which here at the Harwood Museum of Art, and written over 300 articles. She has also edited 2 collections of art criticism, The Hydrogen Jukebox, Selected Writings of Peter Schneidel. Sheldall, thank you. The Last Chance for Eden, Selected Art Criticism by Christopher Knight. And she curated the major traveling exhibition and co-edited the publication, Maple Dodge Lujan and Company, some of you which may remember here at the Harwood, American Moderns and the West. And also New Beginnings, an American story of romantics and modernists in the West. Finally, she authored the forthcoming Pursuit of Happiness, American Artists, World War II, and the GI Bill, of which this exhibition is only a small portion of that scholarship. Jonathan Wormday Cumming, a Taos Pueblo tribal member, is a world-renowned established painter, published author, accomplished illustrator, and father of 2 daughters, Carly and Nuna. Nuna, we have here in the audience with us tonight. He was born into an artistic family and has since expressed himself through various art forms while working from his home on his indigenous homeland. He draws inspiration from the rich history of his native land and is currently enjoying creating his Taos Pueblo-themed ledger drawings on authentic 1800s ledger paper. You can pick up some of his books, one of which we have available tonight, and he is willing to sign books after tonight's program. Eva Mirabal, 3 Generations of Tradition and Modernity at Taos Pueblo, co-written with Lois Rudnick. Also, Taos Pueblo Painted Stories, his first solo written and illustrated book. The White Buffalo, his illustrated multi-award winning children's and young adult hunting-themed book, authored by Mark Nish, with proceeds of that book going to the Native American charities. And lastly, Kiki's Journey, a children's book depicting the rewards and challenges of contemporary Pueblo natives, authored by Native American writer Christy Arona. Jonathan is currently putting his finishing touches on a soon-to-be-published solo writing endeavor titled Bringing Rain, a Taos Pueblo story, a short story with fictional characters based on historical events. Please welcome MaLin and Jonathan.
As you can see, can you hear me? Okay. It says all images courtesy of Jonathan Wormday Cumming. And we're going to start out with some family history photographs. So Jonathan's going to tell me and you who these people are and what they mean to him and what they meant to Eva.
Before we begin, I'd like to thank for everybody who showed up on this windy afternoon. Also, some of the images, the word down below, images courtesy of Jonathan Wormday Cumming. I have a younger brother, Christopher, and I always want to include him because he's always been by my side. None of this would be have been done if it wasn't for his generous help along the way.
Thank you, Christopher.
Okay, these 2 images, we have some land like west of the village, and I think this is farmland where our grandfather, Pietro, Untatsu was his given tribal name, which means beaded shirt. And he went on to be painted by quite a few artists here in Taos, notably Nikolai Fechin, a really beautiful painting which is in the collection of the Art Museum in Minneapolis called Pietro. He sat for him, and I think there was like Joseph Imhoff and others that he sat for. Very handsome man. And this is our grandfather, again, in our village house with my mom on the right and my aunt Tonito, who just recently passed away a couple of years ago at the age of 99 years. And that's our mom. And I think that's my older cousin Peter, who's no longer with us, and grandpa. And these people, I'm not really too sure of the image on your left, but this is an image on your right is of our Mary Bernal, my aunt, and those two must be her children. An earlier photograph that I can't really make out who they are, but I know her, my aunt. And this is my brother and I in our village house. That's where we grew up when we were younger, little. And of course, no electricity. The only running water we had was at the stream that goes across the village there. And we had fond memories of growing up at our village house. We still use the village house for ceremonies. And this particular image, this photograph was taken in Pensacola, Florida, when my father was stationed. It's a great naval base. And I think on that day they had like an open house of some sort. And my brother and I are standing on the deck of the carrier.
So to give people a little background, your mother and father were both from Taos Pueblo, and your father was in the Navy.
Yes.
And he was a career.
He retired at White Sands here in New Mexico.
Right, and so they, Eva went off to war on her own and came back to Taos in 1949. And your mother and father married. Manuel was your father's name.
Yeah, so, small village, they knew each other.
Right, and they married in 1950. And you were born, you were the big brother, in 1952.
Correct.
And your little brother was born in 1958.
Yeah.
And so this was a time when your father was stationed in Pensacola, Florida.
Right.
And you and your brother and mother drove off to Florida for a couple months to be with him.
Yeah, I distinctly remember the evening that we were pulling away from our village house. We had a small, I remember the car, it was like a Ford Falcon. Station wagon with a Woody thing on the side.
A Woody.
Yeah. And we had a huge TV strapped on top. We never had electricity at the Pueblo, so that TV always sat in the middle of the room, just sat. But this was our opportunity to take it to use it. So it looked like a caboose going down the road, this huge square thing strapped on top of this little car. And I remember as a little kid driving down the highway someplace, and I'm looking on the side, and that's what it looked like, a caboose. This big old thing strapped to the top.
Right. But your father didn't really come back to the Pueblo until 1965, I think.
Yeah.
He was always stationed somewhere else.
He remained in Pensacola.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
Came back here.
yeah, that was a tough time.
We were all homesick, including us.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were very glad to get back.
Oh, yeah. And this is at that village house where all those pictures were taken. And that's me fixing the Pueblo house, which we do on a regular basis and stuff. And the pickup truck, the flatbed truck here, actually belonged to my grandfather, Pedro. And the story goes that they actually went to Detroit to pick the truck up with somebody else, and they drove it across country. And he was one of the first individuals at the Pueblo to have a truck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's still in, my nephew's fixing it in Albuquerque.
Oh, it's still running?
Yeah.
That's a good pickup truck.
My brother and I used to haul a lot of hay bales from Orejo Seco on that truck. And we didn't mind the hard work. We got an opportunity to drive it, so.
Well, and you spent a lot of years working construction before you were able to support yourself through your art, so.
A while ago, when we were sitting down, you talked about B. Mendelman up on the hill there. Actually, one summer, I was working construction for a gentleman here in town. I forget his name, George. There's an older guy here. But anyway, we actually we were working on that house, B. Mendelman's home, because they used to go down to Mexico for the winter.
Right.
And they left one winter and the pipes burst.
Oh.
That was at their studio. So we were hired to do construction, work on their house. And I used to hang out there when I was little.
Uh-huh.
So I do remember, and it was really ironic that I would return there to help fix it up.
Well, so in addition to growing up with a grandfather who was very close to the Taos Society of Artists people, artists, and seeing your mother work all the time when you were young, and knowing artists all your life, you yourself became a very involved artist with the Pueblo too. So that sort of interesting. Taos is very unique, I think, in that the Taos Pueblo residents have a kind of intimate and personal relationship with a lot of the artists. I mean, you don't see that in Santa Fe so much because the closest Pueblo is Tesuque, and it's not really that close. Whereas here, there was always this kind of back and forth, people in each other's homes and knowing each other and modeling for each other.
Well, I'm not bashful when I say that I think Taos, the art society, would not have evolved at the rate it did if it weren't for Native people.
Right.
And so.
Well, so many people came here because of the Pueblo. I mean, it is a UNESCO heritage site, but before that, I always try to imagine what it would have been like to maybe come on a horse in like 1905 or something, come up to Taos and see this 3-story, 2 Pueblo apartment buildings and go, oh, I have it all wrong. I have history completely wrong. Here are these people who have this developed culture, this subtlety, and have these connections all from the Nez Perce down to Central America, from the California coast to the Plains Indians. Because of your trade fair, you do all of these,
Even today, those artists of today, contemporary artists, are rewriting, repainting a lot of these images.
Right, right.
It's still happening.
So anyway, what an amazing history. So these are Eva, right?
These 2 images we were just talking about, trying to give them a timeline, and we were thinking that these were probably in Santa Fe, someplace in Santa Fe.
When she was attending the Santa Fe
Indian School.
Indian School, right.
Dressed in her original traditional clothing.
So there she is in a Santa Fe Indian School t-shirt. The Santa Fe Indian School was also unique in the sense that there was a woman named Dorothy Dunn who opened up a workshop for painting. And instead of just being local Pueblo tribes, it spanned the United States. People came from all over, young students to study at the Dorothy Dunn School workshop. And so Eva, she opted to go there. I mean, she asked to go there.
There was a school, the day school was here by then, here at the Pueblo.
The day school was at the Pueblo, but
She
so you had to request to go to.
I think it was like more like a grade school. The highest grade that students could attend would be ninth grade. And after that, they probably went to two of the Santa. There was this St. Catherine school.
Oh, St. Catherine's, it was a school in Santa Fe also, yeah. A girls' school. So what was interesting to me about Eva was that she went there when there were all these tribes from across the United States. So she had a sort of pan-Indian, I mean, I hear different numbers, maybe you can correct them, that there are over 500 different tribal designations in the United States.
These government schools were scattered all over the place, too.
Uh-huh.
There were some up in the Dakotas, and of course, Oklahoma, and there were some in California. So these
And
students from all over.
yeah, so Eva basically went to Santa Fe boarding school for high school. But after she graduated, because she was so talented, they asked her to stay on for 2 years as sort of an assistant in the studios.
And there she is. This is a Girl Scout troop, and she's sitting there, smack right in the middle.
So this is from the Santa Fe Indian School, and Eva there is on the left in the kind of smock painting garb, and the students painted murals in the classrooms.
Yeah. And if I believe that image that we showed just before it was one of the images, hers.
Yeah, this is one of Eva's that she did at the school when she was a student.
And this particular image
It's right over there.
is right back here. And also, it was done also in a plaster cast. And I befriended Ted Avery, was a good friend of mine. And I spoke to him one day, and he said he was teaching the classes that my mom took at the Taos Valley Art School. And she did that plaster cast of this woman.
Yeah, you can see that after we finish. You can go over and look on the table there. It's the made by Ted Avery, who is one of the GI Bill artists also. And Eva was taking a class with him.
Another sketch, I believe that was done at the Taos Valley Art School, of an unknown Pueblo woman, but could have been the same. Really looks like the same person, same model.
And there's the plaster.
Plaster we're talking about. Sometimes I wonder how in the heck did all this work survive, you know? It was just my brother and I. And how it survived all those years, I really don't understand. You know, I mean, we definitely, as kids growing up, we did other things, as kids do. But there was something within us that told us that this was special. So we kept an eye on it, it never left home.
So these are dated in 1945, and I'm going to digress for a moment to tell a story that's a rumor, and if anybody can help figure out if it's true or not. I've done some research, but there was a rumor that Walt Disney came to the Santa Fe Indian School and saw the precision of these kinds of works and saw how beautifully rendered they were and what great kind of patience it took to make them. And they were so animated. Now that's the word. So he asked all of these students at the Santa Fe Indian School if they would come to Los Angeles and work for him as animators. And they all went, no way, I'm not working for you. And so later years, artists like Fritz Scholder would call this the Bambi School. But I always thought it was great that it was the Bambi School because they invented Bambi before Walt Disney kind of took it off, for his own.
Well, they paved the way for other artists.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, that was another aspect of my research on the GI Bill that I couldn't follow up, that there was a lot of animators who studied with at the Bistrom School in Los Angeles who did work for Disney. And they used their GI Bill to learn about animation. Okay, let's go on.
Other two images here of Pueblo people doing everyday things. There's the gentleman on the left holding a drum, and the woman harvesting, obviously something. And the deer again.
Those leaves just pop right out, don't they?
I mean, there's something about this work from that era. It just touches me. I mean, you can put some modern day valuable work right next to it, but something happens when I see work of that time. It's so intimate and beautiful.
Yeah.
Gentleman carrying a load of wood, and the woman here carrying her harvest of corn.
So these were done in the 40s, I think.
They look similar to all the other ones. But her signature changes too during several different times. I don't know why she did that. Something puzzled me.
There's a real amazing simplicity about her work, So it feels so. That's one of the things that I think she brought forward in terms of going towards a slightly different feeling with this Dorothy Dunn school of work.
She obviously saw this actions happening, the dances and everyday life of harvesting. But she just went home or someplace in the studio and painted these, And the stylization and the posture, that's what we were looking at a horse the other day and how it was painted.
Oh my God.
This one here.
Yeah.
Look at
It's amazing.
The hind leg there, everything's just well put.
To get that kind of, it's almost an abstraction, But on the other hand, you'd have to be around horses, and Taos Pueblo is really one of the only pueblos that's really a horse-oriented in New Mexico.
Big horse culture.
It is a horse culture, yeah. I love this picture of Eva. She put her name on the boat. She was, I think one of the things about Eva that's so interesting is that you said to me once that she was a restless person.
She didn't leave things alone, you know, it's just like anybody could have just gotten into that book, but she had to put her name on it.
She also was very adventuresome.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to go out into the world. This is in Kentucky, and it's after she graduated from high school, but she was still working at the school in Santa Fe. She was a camp counselor. This was a summer camp in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she not only went to Kentucky, but she was in exhibitions while she was a student, and she went as far as New Orleans, Chicago. She was not afraid to go out and encounter the world. She was a very brave young woman who had a lot of curiosity about the rest of the world. And like I say, I just love this picture of her in Kentucky teaching summer camp. She had a leadership situation, and she had people really were attracted to Eva.
And these are dressing screens, I believe. That's the name I gave them. And I believe that she did several of them.
Yeah, this one is over there, and it was a study for this screen on the right, which is at the...
This magazine is just a recent, I think it's a fall issue of the Smithsonian Museum, and they featured her in a recent article. And it does show one of the dressing screens there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is in their collection.
Now, this is when the war became part of American consciousness, and there was a competition to do a poster, and Eva won the competition to buy war bonds, and this was published and presented all across the United States.
And I believe this was in high school, right? During high school?
41, I think. Yes, it was when she was, I think it might have been just when she graduated that she submitted the designs, but I think it's interesting the way she integrates the words and makes the buy war bonds out of the smoke and everything. It's really quite inventive.
Yeah. I think the only way this happened is that it was a government school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they did
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't think this would have been allowed in a public school. Propaganda and stuff.
So when she got into the Army, she became a WAC, the Women's Army Corps, in 43, and she went to basic training, and I mean, they kind of didn't know what to do with her. A Taos Pueblo woman came into the Army, and but they recognized her talent, and she was assigned to the Patterson, what's the full name of the Patterson?
Wright-Patterson.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was huge. At the height of the war, they had 50,000 employees. They created the first real Air Force. They designed the planes, they built the planes, and So she became a muralist on the base. And she was also, there weren't that many women in World War II. Just to go back a little bit, there were 16 million people, U.S. Veterans of World War II. 12% of the entire population. Now think about what that would be now. I mean, we have about 350 million people, and there are less than 1% in the military. So for 12% of the entire population to be in the military was astonishing. And not only in the military, but the 50,000 people who worked at the base were civilians supporting the military effort. So, but the World War II was the first time that women were were incorporated as military. And there were 332,000 women in the military. And so the Army ones were known as WACs, the Navy ones were known as WAVES, and the Coast Guard were SPARs. So Mirabal, Eva, enlisted in 1943. So this is one of the murals that she worked upon. And you can see that the airplanes are dominant. And and there's another, the next slide, please.
But can I say something, Jess?
Oh, yeah, go back.
I mean, her work, look how much it blends in.
Right.
And you look at her deer at the Santa Fe Indian School.
Right.
And then the poster. How, every time she's given an opportunity, how she met the challenge.
Oh, yes.
To me, that's mind.
Oh, yeah. She completely met every challenge that was put in her way. And this is such an amazing mural, and it's still there at Wright-Patterson. If you go to Wright-Patterson, you can see it. So this is another aspect besides aviation. I mean, after World War II, people mostly traveled by train or truck or boat or ship. But after World War II, they traveled by airplane. And jazz was the soundtrack of the GI Bill generation. So she includes jazz. But when I asked Jonathan what kind of music his mother loved, he said, country western.
I mean, there's one song that I always remember. Of course, I won't remember it now, but when I'm out there doing stuff at home that pop into my head. You know, she used to sing this western song all the time. Yeah, she used to always sing it.
Okay. So here she's doing a mural that has to do specifically with aviation. I mean, she just painted the entire time that she was in the military. And this includes, everything from, the parachute. They developed all these things at Wright-Patterson.
Now, this particular image has always baffled me. It's kind of leaning. She's sitting up higher. So, and it's leaning. It kind of looks like a huge canvas or some sort of a board. And you can tell that it's leaning, it's slanted. So maybe it is a canvas that she's painting on.
Well, those kinds of angles also in a formal way with painting always indicate a kind of precariousness, instead of being solidly upright. And it must be intimidating to jump out of an airplane. A little scary, yeah. So she really conveys that sense of the wind and being subject to, all of that. And there's some drawing down below, too, which she hasn't completed. but it also gives that whole sense of coming out, the wind taking you, and then down below, getting your parachute together again.
And here's another image that was always I've always wondered about it. Was that hers to be the best? Because I've never seen it at our home. So I don't know if that belonged to her or someone loaned it to her for this particular shot. I don't know.
It's a curious picture, isn't it? I mean, I often, I've looked at it too and wondered, because the beading is probably planes, what do you think? And this picture was part of a series of photographs that was done for a magazine article on her. And here she is holding an airplane model, and with the native beadwork vest that she's got. So this is kind of a collage of her life, going out into the world and studying airplanes she painted those for 3 years.
Here's a G.I. Birdie cartoon. There was a woman, it was Elizabeth, what was her name? Anyway, when Rose Rudnick and I were working on her book, she was very instrumental in getting it done, because she knew our mom when our mom was teaching art school at Carbondale, Illinois. And this particular woman found me years later. She said she had purchased one of my Taos Pueblo Painted Stories books, and she wrote me and asked me if I was a son of Eva. And I said yes, and that's when we got to be really good friends, and she told me stories about her. She was a student there when my mother was teaching school. So we became really good friends, and she took it upon herself. She was a librarian at Emory University, and so she knew about all this stuff. And she was really instrumental in collecting work for this book.
Yeah, so when the war was over and they had to demobilize millions of people very quickly, Eva was offered an opportunity to be an artist in residence and teacher at Southern Illinois University. And that's where she went. And she thought she would use the GI Bill after that year to go to the Art Institute of Chicago. That was her plan. So many Native Americans who participated as veterans in the war and were then veterans, a number of them did not go back to their home reservations, but they became native urban people. And Eva had planned, as I say, to go to Chicago, but her mother became ill, and so she came back to Taos.
This is what I'm talking about too. From the earlier Indian school drawings to the murals at the Wright-Patterson, and this. This just blows my mind, what she was capable of doing. It just amazes me to this day.
Well, and cartooning was a huge aspect of her generation. I mean, people couldn't wait to get the Sunday funny papers. That was what every kid was interested in. And when they went to the movies on Saturday, that's what they wanted to see, the cartoons. So, Eva, like you say, she could do it all. She could do representational, she could do those beautiful native daily life things, the tribal ceremonies, and she could do something like this. So when she came back to Taos, she enrolled at the Taos Valley Art School that had been started by Louis Reebok and B. Mandelman. And this is from the Taos News. And they don't identify all the students in this, but the majority of them come from Taos Pueblo, which is really interesting because I asked Jonathan, so many natives throughout the United States did not use the GI Bill. And that was because of prejudice in their local communities. Whereas here in Taos, there were a lot of students on the GI Bill. And you can read that below. But it was, and part of the reason I think that was true goes back to Eva. Because, and Jonathan confirmed this, that when he was young, a lot of Pueblo neighbors would come and Eva would help fill out the papers
I remember
that they needed to fill out.
steady stream of veterans coming to our home to help. She would help them fill out their veteran papers and stuff. So she was very knowledgeable in that aspect, and she was willing to help anyone.
Yeah. Well, she had negotiated the outside world, and she had negotiated it brilliantly. So here she made herself available to the other members of the community to do that. So anyway, this is from her when she was in basic training.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you how she reported to Santa Fe on June 29th, 1943. It's got all of her wonderful little animated. And that when she says arrived at Patterson on July 20th, high hopes. She started to work in the maintenance department. Where's the paint? So anyway, they did finally recognize that she was a talented artist, and that's what she did. Oh, you want to go back? Yeah. Fall in, fall out, fall in, fall out. Hut two, fall out. So, that's a lovely little notebook, isn't it? When Eva came back, one of the things that she made a connection with was Eulalia Emmentas, who had the gallery Escondida. And Eulalia herself was a WAC. And she started the first gallery of post-war art in Taos. And like Janet Lippincott, who's also in the exhibition, there wasn't much happening. There wasn't a Taos ski valley then. And winter was very quiet. And the tourists came to buy art in the summer and the fall when the weather was nice. So Eulalia would put everything into a station wagon and drive it all over the country to sell it. So anyway, Eva worked for Eulalia at the gallery. And so not only at the Taos Valley Art School was she exposed to post-war modernism, but working at the gallery, and Jonathan remembers going there when he was...
I remember her name very well because it's a different name. You know, I never heard that name before.
Oh yeah, Eulalia is such a wonderful word to say.
I remember going to the gallery a lot.
Yeah, so there was this, Santa Fe, Taos was small and people knew each other, and everybody, a number of those artists became lifelong friends to Eva.
this particular map, which is hanging in the gallery there, I don't really know at this point, I mean, it's in the book, and it describes why it was done and stuff. It's a rather unique map, talking about the different tribes. And my mom did the southwest part of it, I mean, parts of it.
So Eva did this with a woman who was a children's book writer and illustrator too.
Althea Carr.
Yeah.
Another name that I remember for some reason.
So this was in 1959, and she worked on this for quite a while. And it was published all across the United States again. And it shows her sense of the pan-Indian culture of the United States. I mean, one of the things that Native Americans suffered for after the war, and there was prejudice also against African Americans getting the GI Bill. I think Eva overcame that prejudice in Taos by helping other people get their rewards from the GI Bill, whether it was education or there was something called the 5220 Club too, which meant that you were paid $20 for each week of 52 out of the year. So if you were unemployed, the 5220 Club, there were loans to buy property and home. And so there were all these different aspects. But Native Americans were particularly at a disadvantage because they were individual tribes, whereas after the war, for the African Americans, there was a civil rights movement, and so a number of the African American veterans who studied art on the GI Bill mostly came from the North or the West. Those that were in the South were often not given GI Bill funding because the funds were initially distributed by local bankers, and they were not going to give African Americans any GI Bill money. So anyway, but Eva overcame all of that here in Taos.
We have the original at the home hanging. And this particular one was done by Stewie Van Veen, and one of the gentlemen that she helped with the mural.
Mm-hmm. So I'm showing this because this was a list I found of Taos County residents that served in the military during World War II. And this here, Eva was probably one of the most well-known artists or veterans at that time from Taos Pueblo. This is a 11-page list that shows you that in Taos, Taos County, there were 1,077 veterans. Eva Mirabal is missing. And one of the things that Jonathan and I talked about was just how she died too young. She was only 48.
I was in 68, so that would be, yeah.
She was 48 years old when she died. And she kind of vanished. She was overlooked. Nobody paid attention. She was in the newspaper. How can they not have her name here? But it is indicative not only of being a woman, but artist maybe. I don't know why she's missing. But it kind of goes along with the fact that she died in 68, And it took until 2013 for the Harwood to have an exhibition. So here we are today. Next slide.
This particular photo is at our home where I live right now. I don't think that particular part of the home exists, but yeah, it is at my home.
This is the Taos Valley Art School class that Eva invited to the Pueblo, to her home. And so they are all out there working. One thing to note for me for the Taos Valley Art School was that because of Louis Reebok's radical politics in New York when he was young, he worked for the New Masses and other radical publications. They sent an FBI agent to infiltrate the school. And the FBI agent reported back that indeed he was a radical. So they took away the certification for GI Bill education funding, and they had to close the school down. I did mention this, but the GI Bill was active for 10 years after you were demobilized. So you could use it in any place that was certified. That included Paris, Mexico City, New York, of course, Los Angeles, so all the places, and Taos. So when they took the certification away from the Taos Valley Art School, gone. Next slide. Tell us about this, Jonathan.
Now, this image is at the Southern Illinois University where my mom taught art. And these were some of the images that the lady who's a student there while my mom taught art saved and loaned or gave to us. She gave so much photographs to Lois and I.
There's our animated deer leaping. This is the cover of the book that Jonathan did with Lois Rudnick, who was my co-curator for the Mabel exhibition, and she was a Mabel Dodge Lujan biographer. And this beautiful prairie fire painting was one of the last things that Eva did. It's one of the largest works of art, and it's in the exhibition. And she did this because she was invited to show in Phoenix, and she had been ill for a number of years. This was done in '65, so only 3 years before she passed away. And this is by Jonathan. I wanted to show this because I think it's beautiful. And for me, it shows.
I wish we had the original. I did this at the Cameron in Albuquerque.
Tamarind Institute.
Yeah.
It's a print, and I think they own it at the Albuquerque airport.
It's someplace. All the art. I was invited along with all they picked one artist from each of the villages here in New Mexico to participate in the Cameron one year. And this is one of the images that I created. And they kept them, but we got to keep, I think, some images I have at the house. But I'm really not sure where this one is hanging. In Albuquerque someplace.
It's part of the city of Albuquerque collection. So the name of this is Vanishing, and somehow it applied to me to what happened to Eva and her work. And hopefully that's come to an end, that she's not vanishing anymore. Next. I think there's a little video here that they're going to play.
On August 5, 1943, a young Native American woman named Eva Mirabal joined the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, or WAC. One of several hundred Indian women to serve during World War II, Iyahuwa, or fast-growing corn as she was known in the Tiwa dialect, was raised in the Taos Pueblo in New Mexico. Eva was educated at the Santa Fe Indian School, where influence from her family, teachers, and community led her to pursue her natural ability to paint. As a student at the studio school, she created murals of everyday Pueblo life and even war bond posters. Her skill as an artist was quickly recognized when she joined the Army, and thus Eva was designated as Occupational Specialty 296, or Artist. Assigned to the Army Air Forces, she rose to the ranks as one of only 2 WAC artists in the AAF, and quickly became Sergeant Mirabal. While stationed at Patterson Field in Ohio, she assisted with the painting of a 40-foot mural titled A Bridge of Wings inside the Air Technical Service Command headquarters. The massive and inspirational depiction of the improving relationship between North and South America still stands today and bears her signature. Eva's duties as an Army artist also led her to create G.I. Gertie, a cartoon strip featured in WAC publications. This cartoon earned her the distinction of being one of the first Native American female cartoonists. After leaving the WAC, Eva was invited to serve as an artist-in-residence at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, where the school newspaper noted her ability to change deep-lying, intangible qualities into the reality of color, form, and action. Soon after, Eva took advantage of the newly established GI Bill to attend the Taos Valley Art School, where she continued to be nationally recognized. Her work was exhibited at the National Gallery of Art, and miracle pieces belong to renowned collections around the world today. Eva passed away in 1968 after returning to the Taos Pueblo. Her artistry and unique point of view live on through her work and the work of her 2 sons. While her service in the WAC was short, her art became a permanent part of Army history, and her experiences as a soldier created opportunities for Eva to grow as an artist. In honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, the U.S. Army Women's Museum pays tribute to Eva and the over 40,000 Native Americans who served during World War II.